there, Scorpio, and welcome to your May 2020 tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I do these readings for creatives, entrepreneurs, artists, and anyone who is working on their personal growth, self-expression, or spirituality. So if those areas of life are important for you, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. I also want to say really quickly that you can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign, and it's also totally possible and normal if the reading doesn't make sense for you, because these are just general readings. However, I encourage you to experiment a little bit and come back to the reading at the end of May. A lot of the feedback that I get from people is that they may not really think their reading resonates at the beginning of the month, but then if they come back at the end, they do see some really interesting connections. So whew, got through the intro there, Scorpio. You guys are going to have an amazing month. I think it's going to be really powerful with the Scorpio full moon, and there are so many really mystical aspects with that full moon in Scorpio on May 7th. So get ready, because we've got aspects with Neptune, we've got Mercury conjunct the sun. They're all connected. All of the moon, the sun, and Neptune are all going to be casting aspects to each other. So it's a pretty powerful time, and it's going to be really activating, I feel. Also, Pluto is involved by sextile to the moon. So when you have Pluto, Neptune, and the moon, and on a full moon in Scorpio, there's going to be a lot of mystic vibes going on. You're probably going to be, having your spidey senses really turned on. You're going to be probably having some really powerful dreams, I would say, leading up to that full moon, and then also afterwards. So definitely a really impactful time, though. When you have the full moon in your sign once a year, this is really a time for you to go through some kind of a powerful manifestation of yourself. So, it's your half birthday if you're a Scorpio sun, and you'll probably feel like there's a desire to reflect on your efforts and energy expended over the last 6 months or so, since approximately your birthday. If you're a Scorpio sun, if you just have like a stellium in Scorpio, still this time is very much activating, all of that energy wherever it is in your chart. So this is going to be a time where there's just a lot for you to think about. There's a lot for you to become. And you're going to be really, I think, spiritually connected at this time. So really trust your gut, trust your dreams, work with your dreams. That's one of the biggest self-care practices I do every day is I write down my dreams and I interpret them if I feel like they need interpretation. And I think that this could be a really good time for you to engage in some kind of practice like that. So as far as the meditation message goes, though, while I was tuning in, I did get this impression that there's some kind of an integration going on within yourself, Scorpio, that you're probably going to be feeling a little bit less alone somehow, which sounds so funny and counterintuitive to say that during a time when many people around the globe are in self-quarantine, when we're not necessarily being that social and connecting with a lot of other people. But for you, I get this really strong vision of almost like a door opening, and I feel like there's people on the other side of that door, and I think that the closer that you go to that door, the closer that you're going to connect with those individuals. And it's really up to you, Scorpio, how connective you want to be at this time. But I'm almost sensing something about maybe a collaboration. For example, if you're a Scorpio entrepreneur, most Scorpios tend to do a lot of work on their own, but you could be more interested in collaborating, or you might be interviewing someone for a podcast, or you yourself might be being interviewed, or you could be creating or joining a collective of some kind. And if there's ever been any issues that you've had in the past with connecting with other people, or, you know, if you feel like in the past you've had difficulties with competitive, like people being competitive with you, or you're just not into the whole idea of competition and you want to just kind of do your own thing and stay in your own lane. Many Scorpio creators are like that, and I've talked to a lot of them. This month, I feel like there's something more, like there's something bigger that you're recognizing that you're a part of. And I think that there's something really powerful to be gained about seeing yourself and the other people in your industry, right? You could look at them as competitors, but on another level, you could look at them as people who are carrying forward the same patterns of truth. And I know that that sounds very ephemeral, like it's hard to nail that down, but really what it is I think that you are starting to see people who you might have considered as maybe like more challenging towards you, like you might on both sides start to feel the kinship maybe that wasn't there before. So there's a sense of really coming together with people who may have been negative to you in the past, and maybe not necessarily like the exact individual who was negative towards you in the past, but like in general, whatever reasons that you gave yourself for not wanting to kind of join more groups or join in on conversations, I think that is going to be, the volume on that is going to be turned down, so to speak. And so I think that there's going to be a lot more of a connective energy, and I think that you could collaborate really well with some other people. So definitely, if you're a Scorpio entrepreneur, think about that. You know, think about ways that you can collaborate, ways that you can, you know, be a joiner, because I think that you're going to get a lot out of that. And you're also going to see other people who may be doing things that are somewhat similar to you. You might be seeing them as like people who are bringing in the same healing salve to the world, right? Or not the same, but a similar healing salve for the world. And in that sense, you might feel like you actually really want to strengthen, you know, whatever they're doing. And conversely, they want to strengthen what you're doing. There's a sense of really working together and finding like a higher common purpose. So that's a really interesting message. I'm really curious to see how this plays out and what kind of advice I can get you from your cards. Spirits, please give us clear, loving, and accurate messages for Scorpios. That one cut so clean. Okay. So let's take a look here at your Animal Spirit Oracle cards as well. Scorpio. And our fellow Scorpio, Bob Ross. Get a message from this beautiful and bright Bob Ross deck for the Scorpios. Okay, so we've got Hawk and Dragonfly. Gorgeous. So the themes that I'm getting immediately, the first couple of words that came to my mind were emergence and visibility. Emergence and visibility. So you're coming out of your shell somehow, Scorpio. When I look at these cards, these are both creatures of the air, but also the dragonfly spends the first 4 years of its life in the water. So it's also kind of a water creature. But when it comes out of the water, it enters into this whole new like chapter of its life, you know, where it goes from being a water creature for 4 years to being a creature that flies in the air. So that could be a big symbol for you, Scorpio. You might feel like you've been kind of submerged in the water or the waters of your life or of your passions, your excitements. And right now it's almost like those are sort of, you're being asked to come out from under the surface and soar with it. You're being asked to kind of come out with it. So those are a couple of the things, is emergence and visibility. Visibility of your gifts, visibility of your thoughts, right? Like your thought process is really on display here. what you are, the way that you work things out in your mind is really prominent this month. And I think that you're going to find that your logic brain, like when I look at these cards, I think your logic brain is really strong and prominent. We do have the watery theme of, going to the depths and your intuition and the dream world, which we talked about with your full moon this month. That's all going to be very active, but I also think that your logic brain is going to be really, really on point and very active as well. So this is a great month for mental pursuits such as writing or editing or speaking or teaching. I think that those kind of activities are going to be really powerful for you, with both of these being air creatures. The hawk is also a shamanic symbol of messages from the divine, and many cultures from around the world associate hawks with divine wisdom and guidance coming to us. And it can also be more of a mundane symbol for just letters in the mail, emails, phone calls, things coming to you from the outside world that is a means of communication that can potentially change your life. So this is a really big time for you when you have your full moon in Scorpio, and this full moon has such powerful aspects to it, most of them positive, I have to say. I do think that this is going to be a really impactful month for you where you can really shine. So let's take a look at your cards and we'll get some more information. So we've got Hanged Man and the Seven of Swords, King of Swords, and the Emperor. Wow. Nine of Swords with the Six of Swords. So much air, right? Nine of Cups and Seven of Pentacles. Really beautiful. Okay, so this is a really interesting reading. I definitely am loving the energy at the end of the month for you. Right around that Gemini full moon on May 22nd is probably going to be the time where you feel another shift in the energy, right? But up until then, we see a pretty common theme here. And this theme is one of kind of, I want to say, calculation. Okay? That's the word. If I could sum up the first 3 weeks of May, it's like calculated efforts pay off. And that might mean that you take a pretty cool-headed approach. Like, I see you, Scorpio, I see you. I see you being very calm, cool, collected, strategic about what you're doing in the first 3 months, or the first three months of May, the first 3 weeks of May. There's definitely this feeling overall of like acting when the moment is right. And I think that this is really echoed with these air creature cards that you got, is yes, you are emerging. There is going to be more visibility. There is going to be this sense of like progress being made. But I think that because you are who you are as a Scorpio, you can't necessarily just go into transformations like this just willy-nilly, like maybe if you have a lot of Sagittarius in your chart, that could be like an exception. Like if you've got your sun in Scorpio, but then you've got Mercury, Venus, Mars, like everything else in Sag, then maybe it'll be different for you. But most Scorpios, if they're going to go through a big transformation like this, where you've been in the water for 4 years, but you're just about to come out, like that's a pretty big transformation. And Scorpios are the most transformative sign, but they're not into transformation and alchemy and massive shifts just for no good reason, right? Like you're a serious sign. You can have fun, but you also take life freaking seriously. And you're not going to just be like over the top, willy-nilly, not caring about what you're doing. And so I think that in the first week of May with the Hanged Man and the Seven of Swords, I see you doing things very intentionally. With the Seven of Swords, there can be associations with this card of like playing your cards close, right? Or not being completely forthright. But next to the Hanged Man, I actually am seeing this more as you taking the time to really be certain about the private decisions that you are making for yourself. So, how is that going to practically look for you in your life? One way that it may look is that you don't broadcast all of your choices for everybody in your family and friend circle to see, right? This could mean also, because we got that message about like connecting with more people and connecting with people who you may have like kind of not really been super engaged with in the past. This could also represent you like reaching for connections that are different than the ones that you have had. And again, because of restrictions, this could be internet-based or Zoom-based or, internet collaborations and things like that. But I feel like this Seven of Swords, he's walking away from the tense, which is like society, right? So he's taking his strategies and he's going somewhere else that he thinks that his work will be more, his work or strategies or projects will be better suited. And I think the Hanged Man shows this kind of implicit sense of patience with the situation, because you know that if you think things through and you really pause and reflect and you stay really connected to your spiritual self, then whatever decisions you make are going to be in the long run very calculated, but also very much right for you, right? So I think that this is really about not broadcasting everything that you're doing. If you feel like you need to make some shifts, don't ask for permission. Don't feel like you have to explain yourself. Find those private moments with yourself where you can journal and write things out, and then just do what makes sense for you. And you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. So by the second week of May, after that full moon, on the 7th, we've got this week where we have the King of Swords and the Emperor. So this is, both of these cards represent authority to me. They represent people who are sort of at the top of their like respective hierarchies, right? Nobody tells the emperor what to do. And whatever we can think or say about hierarchies, right? This is a symbol of being at the top of a hierarchy. And I think that there's ways of looking at this where we can get valuable information, and there's ways that we can look at this where we could also see maybe some better choices that we could make. And I think in this case, what we have is more of a territory than a hierarchy. And what I mean by that is, like, the emperor could choose to look at himself as, at the top of some kind of dominance structure, right? Like a kingdom or an empire. But he could also represent someone who simply is the master of their own house and is in control of their own income and is able to call the shots within their own life and has that authority and that sovereignty. And I think that that's more the energy that you're taking with this, with the King of Swords as well. It could be mastering some kind of mental pursuit with the King of Swords, because again, you have so much air. So you could be mastering some kind of mental pursuit in academics. You could be taking a class or maybe teaching a class online. There could be something here about I want to say like stepping into a position of kind of relative respect for whatever you have to offer. And that might mean putting yourself and your absolute best work forward without needing to get permission to do that. And I think that that can be really scary. Like if you're new at doing something, let's say you want to start a yoga YouTube channel or something like that, it can be kind of intimidating to just put yourself out there as somebody who teaches yoga, even if you haven't been doing it for that long or you just finished your teacher certification or whatever. I think that these cards are like saying it's not about being at the top of a hierarchy, right? It's not about having the most views ever on YouTube for yoga, or it's not about having, the biggest, most successful corporate company or whatever. It's more about owning your unique space, your unique niche, and working with it in a way that works for you. And so maybe the way that you do it is going to be more well received by a particular individual or a series of individuals. They are going to resonate with the way that you do yoga as opposed to the way that somebody who already has like millions of followers and a very established business does it. So it's not about hierarchy, right? It's about territory. It's about your place in the universe, and that's not above or below anyone else's. It's just personal to you. And so I think that's a good mindset shift, Scorpio, if you are somebody who is starting a business for yourself, or if you are beginning work on a creative project. I think that's going to be a really helpful mindset shift. Now, the third week of May, we have the 9 of Swords and the 6 of Swords. So again, a lot of mental energy. I'm going to suggest in the third week of May that you take a little bit of a chill pill. You could be feeling pretty anxious, or you could be feeling kind of nervous or self-critical in that third week, or you could receive some kind of critical energy from another person. Or I think more than anything though, this feels like you just being hard on yourself. And I think that the best advice for you is just to keep going. In the third week of May, you could feel a little bit tired, but so tired that you don't want to get rest. Do you know that feeling? You could also just feel spent, like energetically, but feel also that you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to just continue on with the same level of exertion. And so I think the message here in the third week of May is to really take it slow, take things day by day. I want you to meditate. If you don't normally have a meditation practice, Scorpio, definitely try and meditate in that third week of May more often, because I think that's going to really help you when you're going through this time period where you're kind of, we see you as being a little worried about the future and about the way that things also may have gone up to this point. But the 6 of Swords is the medicine here. It's saying just keep taking those steps one day at a time. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and don't get lost in the anxiety, because we do see things paying off, which is really great. By the 4th week of May, again, right after that new moon in Gemini, which is totally going to shift the energy, we have the 9 of Cups with the 7 of Pentacles. So one thing that I get is that you're going to actually feel like, what was I so worried about? You know, like by the end of the month of May, you're going to be looking back at maybe like the previous week, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I put out so much stress for nothing. And hopefully that's not the case, right? Because you're hearing this reading now, so you can mentally prepare yourself for that third week and be like, you know what? I know my brain's going to have a little bit of a tendency to kind of want to freak out about things this week, so I'm going to preemptively reduce my caffeine intake, meditate for 10 extra minutes, and just remind myself that I don't have to rely on the acceptance or approval of others, and that if I just keep showing up and doing my work, again, being in your territory, as we saw here with the King of Swords and the Emperor, if you just do you and you make that your only prerogative, then, and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, that anxious state is going to leave you, and you're probably not even going to get as sucked into it as you may or as you would have been. By the last week of the month, you've got reward coming in for what you're doing. Clearly, I mean, it could be financial with the 7 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups. This is the wish card, the 9 of Cups. So this is good stuff happening. This is you feeling like your hard work is paying off, you feeling on top of the world, feeling proud of yourself maybe. And I also get with the 7 of Pentacles, it's like, keep going with this. Your work is not done. You're going to have a victory at the end of the month, maybe big, maybe somewhat medium size, but I do think you're going to have a really nice victory for yourself and you're going to feel proud of yourself. But then you're also going to have the Seven of Pentacles. So it's like, keep going with this, keep building on this. You have something here. This is fertile ground that you are standing on, Scorpio, and you're going to know that for sure by the end of the month of May. And so you're going to be like ready to go, ready to keep working on it. Let's see your Bob Ross message. Every day is a good day when you paint. Every day is a good day when you paint. I love it. So try and do something creative for yourself every day in May if you can. I know many of us are still not really returning back to our regular schedules. I mean, for me, not a lot has changed because I work from home, but throughout May, some people may still not necessarily be going back to the way that things were, the way that your routine was. And I think that during this month, it would be a really good way to increase your daily joy, to continue creating, and specifically creating for the joy of it, not necessarily with the intention that everything has to become a business, right? I mean, it's great if it is, and it's awesome if that can develop, and when it develops is awesome. But also just, you know, for the sake of having every day be a good day, maybe you should paint or write or draw or sing or dance, make up, do some choreography. I mean, there's always something that you can do that is for the pure joy of it. And I think that that's going to be also really helpful because you have, in the first 3 weeks of May, you have a lot of serious looking cards, which again is that cool, calm, succinct, you know, concise, sharp side of the Scorpio archetype, which is not necessarily, you know, given as much thought. When you hear, you know, pop culture astrologers talking about Scorpio, it's all sex, 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 or it's, you know, something very intense, like emotional intensity. But you're also a very sharp, very like sharply witted sign. It's because of your focus. You know, you just like the eagle eyes, you laser in on things, and when you are really motivated to understand something, you get it. You have that kind of really sharp intellect, and I think that you're going to be using that wisely in the first 3 weeks of May, and you're probably going to come up with some really great solutions, and you're going to be very articulate and be effective with that. But you also need to have some fun and some joy in your life as well. So don't take it too seriously, Scorpio. I hope that these messages have been helpful to you. I hope it gives you something useful and practical and uplifting to think about as you go through the month of May. Happy full moon. I'm sending you tons of love. I will put the information for the moon mapping astrology course, which is beginning actually on the Scorpio full moon on May 7th. That information will be below. It's essentially a lunar return self-care course involving the synthesis of homeopathy and astrology and my personal self-care practices. So if you want to join in on that, I will put all the information below. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to let me know you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a little black heart emoji or just write hearts in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys as well if you want to share any comments or feedback about the reading. I just love getting those comments from you guys. It's almost like a little high five to each other where we don't have to be, you know, talking all of these words. I feel like I always use so many words, but just the feeling of knowing that you guys are engaging with this content and that you're here and you want me to know that you're enjoying it. Even just a little emoji, it's funny how such a simple thing can accomplish that, but it really does. So thank you so much, those of you who are commenting and leaving me your kind words and support. I absolutely love it. Also, all of the engagement that you do on this channel really supports the growth and the algorithms of YouTube. So again, it's just really helpful for me on so many levels, and it always brings a smile to my face. If you would like to donate, I'll put the link below. Any amount is awesome. Even just $1 is so amazing and supportive to all the time and energy that I put into these readings every single month. Thank you, Scorpio. I'm sending you a really big hug, and I will talk to you very, very soon in the next video. Take care of yourselves and have an awesome month in May. Bye.